Hello there. Tonight's shave is going to be with Beer Soap Brewing Company's Lumberjack shave soap. I've not used this before. It was a piff, or it was given to me. It was a gift by Clint Ausmus on the Shave Nook forum. It's the ingredients: beer, saponified oils of tallow, stearic acid, palm oil, castor oil, shea butter, cocoa butter, glycerin, fragrance, and kaolin clay. That's a fairly simple ingredients list, so I'm looking forward to seeing what that amounts to. Tonight we'll be using the Maggard MR6. This is the only modern razor that I own. You guys know I usually shave with vintage straights or DEs or single edge razors. That kind of fits me. When I started on vintage gear, and they suit me more. But this razor is really well made. It shaves really well. It doesn't cost very much money. And it's all the modern razor that I need. I really don't have any interest in owning any other modern razors. But this MR6 really does the job and does it well. So I'm going to use that. It's loaded with a 7 o'clock yellow Gillette and my 1460 Semogue brush is what I'll be using to whip up some lather. And I'm going to pour the water off this. I just took a piece of the sample and stuck it here in this wooden bowl that actually Colonial Eye Mango came in. And I'm wetting my brush, and I'm going to go ahead and begin to lather this. I don't really smell any beer, which is fine. Not really a drinker. I'm a Baptist preacher, so I don't drink. But this is not about drinking. It's just an ingredient in the soap, and it's not something that I'm really hung up on. I don't really care if it smells like beer or not. It has a rather unique scent. Actually, I don't know if I can describe it. I'm transferring to my lather bowl now. Not sure if I can describe this scent, but the biggest thing is it smells pretty clean. It doesn't smell like there's a whole lot. It's not very complex. Fairly simple and clean. There's kind of an underlying kind of earthiness, maybe some of the clay in it, I don't know. But I'm getting, I don't know if I would call it a bright note. It's definitely not citrusy, which is what I think most people, and that is whipping into lather really, really nice. Anyway, it's not citrusy, which is what I think a lot of people would think of if you... Let me get a little bit more water on my brush. I think that lather's pretty good, actually, but I want to add just a little bit of water. That's kind of something that I've been doing. When I think the lather's got enough water in it, I have a tendency to try to add just a bit more and see if I can squeeze out more slickness out of the lather. But anyway, most people, I think they when they say bright notes that they think of citrus. There's the lather. And I really don't sense a citrus type component. So maybe a fresh type of scent. Maybe that's what I'm trying to describe. It's not very overpowering. It's subtle, but I like it. There's a lather going on, and actually I'm gonna add just a bit more of that because I've got plenty of lather. It lathered really well. Yeah, there's I can smell a bit of clay in it, but to be honest with you, that's not anything that bothers me. I know that some people, oh, I don't want to smell clay in soap. Well, clay is an ingredient in a lot of shave soaps that gives slickness and stuff like that. So I don't have a problem with smelling a bit of a clay type smell. It's not a dirt smell. It's just kind of an earthy kind of scent. And I think that's what I'm getting is underneath whatever the fresh kind of smell, I'm getting kind of an earthy. And there is a bit of the hops from the beer. Lather's fairly slick. Doesn't have a great amount of cushion, but it's adequate. I love the MR6. The aggression of it is just a push up. For my vintage Gillettes, and the weight of the razor, I think, has an awful lot to do with that. It's quite a heavy razor. I like that. It's not something I would want all the time. My hand would get tired. If all my D's were this heavy. But every once in a while, a bit of weight in a razor is something that I enjoy. I don't want a super light razor either. So the Gillette's actually, the new especially, or the super speed, that's kind of the weight class I'm looking for in a DE. Not really. To me, the tech is a bit light, but I love the tech. But the super speed, the Lancome New, that's about the weight that I normally prefer. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons that I like the super speed is my super speed, at least, is kind of almost a bit head heavy. Excuse me while I dry my hands. And I like a bit head heavy razor. This razor is more weighted toward the butt of the handle, but it's really well balanced actually. I like the fact this razor is fairly. I don't know if if the camera's picking it up. My microphone on my laptop is notorious for not picking stuff like this up. But this razor, I like what I hear when it cuts my whiskers. Very audible. Razor. Now I tried the 7 o'clock yellow in another razor of mine, and I thought it was, you know, a decent sharp blade, kind of middle of the road. And in this razor, this is a wonderful blade. It's smooth. But it's definitely very sharp. It's not, I wouldn't put it on the order of like a feather, but it's pretty sharp. But there's a smoothness to it that in this razor that's really, really nice. In the vintage razors, at least the one I used it in, I can't remember what it was. It wasn't quite that smooth. But it certainly is in this one. Lovely. Plenty of residual slickness. I could wet my face and buff with no problem. I don't normally do that. When you have this much lather left and I've still got a pile like that in a bowl on my third pass, I don't see any reason to buff without lather on my face. I got plenty. And it just makes sense to me. If I'm going to do cleanup passes, because I don't normally try to buff. Every now and then, if I feel like the razor's not cutting my whiskers well enough, just with a regular pass, then I might buff a bit, trying to get a bit closer shave. But most of the time, what I do is in favor of, making an extra pass or lathering and doing spot passes is what I would call them. Maybe I need to do another run on my chin because that spot there has got some whiskers still left or something like that, rather than buff. To me, that makes more sense because at least I've got a protective film of lather on my face. When I make a pass. So. Got a little nick there. Right in that little hollow. Not much of one. And I know some people are probably wondering what I'm doing. Why I stretch and pull my skin. And there's a couple of reasons. First reason is just for consistency's sake. Now, I shave probably half of the time or more with straight razors. And I find that stretching my skin helps tremendously with a straight razor. And so for consistency's sake, okay, I'm going to put me a little bit of styptic pin here, and I'm going to make us another pass on my chin. But I find for consistency's sake, you know, if I stick to the same patterns, no matter what it is I'm shaving with, unless the razor itself requires something different. I've yet to find one that had a problem, that I had a problem using stretching my skin. So, but just for consistency's sake, you know, I'm staying in a regular routine. Also, that's the same reason that you'll see me switching hands with a DE. You know, I mean, with a DE, I could just as easily use one hand and shave both sides of my face. But I switch hands with a straight, so I switch hands with a DE. It keeps my hand in. It keeps me used to using both of my hands. I think that's smart. And lastly, I think I get a better shave if I stretch my skin no matter what I use. So that's why I do that. Another thing I tend to do is I start off with a warm towel, and between the passes I'll clean off my face with a warm towel. That way my face is always wet when I'm applying lather, which I think is the best way to do it. But this last towel, is cold. And I think that helps to close up the pores, tighten up the skin, that kind of deal. My old friend Aqua Velva Ice Blue. It says classic right there on the bottom. It ought to say classy. This is a cool aftershave. It doesn't cost very much money at all. It's got a good barbershop scent. It's got a good menthol scent. Now, if you want to kick this up even more and for less money, Barbasol Brisk, baby. Really, really, really kick menthol. And much more than the Aqua Velva Ice Blue. And the barbershop scent is, I wouldn't say better, but this is more authentic to what I'm used to smelling in a barbershop growing up as a kid. This is what my barbershop smelled like. All the barbershops that I went to when I was a kid smelled like Barbasol Brisk. And so This is actually under $2, and it's a wonderful aftershave. But this is still one of my very favorites. And if I could only have 2 aftershaves, it would probably be this and Old Spice. So, but this would give it a run for its money. Anyway, that's the shave. Nice, slick, smooth shave. The post-shave feel of this, it's not bad. My face doesn't feel dried out or anything like that. So, yeah, I think this is a pretty good soap. The lather, if I had held back in that last bit of water that I put in this lather, the lather probably would have had a lot more cushion to it. But it was fine like it is. I just know that from what I looked at in the beginning, before I added that last bit of water, it was a much better lather. But I'm having a tendency, like I said, I'm just trying to push a little bit when I lather soaps to see how much water will this soap take, you know, and what will it make my lather do. I have found that a lot of times if you are able to get more water in a lather, I'm cleaning my bowl, that you'll end up with more slickness. A lot of times the soap will reward you with more slickness. But, you know, in hindsight, I would be willing to bet you that that soap would be every bit as slick the way it was the first time without adding lather. But, you know, I don't know whether these soaps are still available or anything like that. If they are, I can tell you right now that I like that soap right there. It lathered like a champ. I mean, usually when I go to lather most soaps, what I'll get is kind of a sudsy mess to start with because I use a fairly damp brush. And then it'll begin to thicken up. This soap immediately started to thicken right there in the bowl on top of the puck. And I got a wonderful proto lather that I could put into a nice warm moist bowl and end up with a really good lather. It didn't take much to whip it up, and so I can't find a single mark at all against that soap. So Beer Soap Brewing Company, and mine was the Lumberjack scent, and it was wonderful. God bless you, and I'll see you on all the forums and fauna of the wet shaving world.